I'm super, super, super excited. Let me give you some housekeeping ideas, because ideally we are going to have an interactive session. If you feel like coming on the stage with Jenny and I, it's super easy. All you need to do is raise your hand. Oh, hey team! So good to see you. You have a few options on the box here to interact with us. You can react. There's a little happy face at the bottom that has a little heart and thumbs up and clapping. So you can use that to let us know that our conversation is resonating with you. And you can also raise your hand, and that'll give me the ability to know you want to come on stage with us, and absolutely welcome that. And you can ask any questions, contribute any points of view, so that we can make the conversation together until the end. All right. So I'm going to get us kicked off here. I think if people continue to join, we can reiterate the housekeeping. But first of all, let me just say I am super, super, super excited. Been counting down for today to have Jenny join our new audio series. This is a month. The month of March is a very important month for me because I'm starting to try new capability on LinkedIn. And, have this idea that is intended to create conversation amongst us, the normal people trying to figure out LinkedIn, trying to become comfortable creating content, posting content, creating a story around our branding, who we are, what we do. And the space that is being created here is exactly for that, so that we can come together, share those experiences, learn from each other. I want it to be super real. I didn't want it to be something that is, from best practices or whatnot, because I feel like every person is going to have their own journey and their own story to tell. And this is pretty much a platform to do that. So Jenny, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm going to let the process of this conversation unfold, and so that we can get to know you and dive deeper into who you are, what you do, your experience as a content creator. Jenny and I met through the DIY Influence program, and we were cohort peers learning a few things, about how to use LinkedIn and other branding capabilities. And immediately I fell in love with the passion that she has for what she does, the values that are really, really strong in her as a leader to bring forward the best things we can bring into nonprofit organizations, especially in her field. And also her passion and her dedication to creating environments in organizations that are better than she found them. And so without further ado, Jenny, welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Lindsay, so much for having me. It's just amazing to be here. It's amazing to see all these smiley faces on the screen, see the heart emojis. I wish there was a high five emoji, but there's not. But so excited to be here, and you have an amazing series you're doing. So thank you so much for having me.
I think we can make some recommendations to LinkedIn once we continue to try this. That would be awesome. Like, hey, we tried this and you're missing high fives. You're missing all kinds of things. Hi, Jen. Hi, Wendy. Thank you for being here.
Yay.
Okay. So for the team that we have collected here today, we have a structure. So it's not going to be per se an interview, but there are some questions that are sort of intersections into the conversation we want to have. So Jenny, I'm going to start with the signature opening question. What is your personal, like Jenny's personal LinkedIn content creation ABCs? And these are a thing you often leave for the last minute.
You might get an answer. So great question. So ABCs of content creation. So something I leave for the last minute is in the moment, I'll write what motivates me, what inspires me. And so I just want to write. So at the time, I don't want to get held up with anything. I just write. And then I'll go back through the post and I'll read through it and I'll review the hook. So for anyone who doesn't know what a hook is, it's that initial line that draws readers in and starts to engage them. And to me, that's the biggest message, the biggest aha moment that I'm trying to convey, and I'll move it up to the top. And so for me, the last main thing is to make sure I have a good hook.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move to the letter B of your ABCs. Best practice you've learned so far regarding content creation.
Oh, as you know, and I'm sure many can attest to, it's a journey for sure. And I would say the biggest evolution over the past, I would say 6 months, has been having conversations in the comments. So you'll hear that a lot from people here. You hear a lot of people doing it, but the comments is where you can have the interesting conversations and go back and forth with people and really learn and just have some fun. And so I've learned to not just post, not just push stuff out, but go engage, interact, and go back and forth in the comments. And sometimes it's silly things like, I like French fries or something like that. But immediately when you start to know people, you'll know what that means. And so I would say the comments is like huge best practice for me.
Awesome. And then the letter C, what is your creativity booster for the days where you want to post, but you feel probably uninspired?
It's a hard one because most days I do feel inspired, but there are some days I don't. I will keep a running OneNote, which I switched over to Google Docs this year because it's on my phone. So everyone has a phone, right? No one leaves a house without a phone. So it's always with me. And so I get inspired every day by things. And over the last year and a half, I'll look at daily life and go, that would be an amazing LinkedIn post, or that would be cool to share. And it's gotten to the point where my husband will be like, you're writing a LinkedIn post, aren't you? Maybe, maybe. But I dump it into the OneNote more to get it out of my brain. And often I may not post that, but I'll pull that into like my newsletter that I want to share or something. So it's just daily life that happens. And I just keep a running log of ideals and thoughts that goes through my head, which there's a lot. If anybody ever wants to know what goes through my head.
I think I can relate to that, since, I have been also experimenting with different things here on LinkedIn and getting to know the platform. I also feel like everywhere I go, there's something that sparks, oh, I could write about this. And then I have to hold myself back. Like, Lindsay, seriously, people may not want to know about that. So it can become somewhat your lifestyle in a way, even though we're not, professional content creators but I think that wanting to share and wanting to engage can become a little addictive than you want it.
100%. And I see a lot of content creators here on the phone too. I'm sure they could attest to some kind of log.
Well, that's a good segue to, remind anyone, on the panel, if you want to come up with us and join the conversation, just raise your hand. I finally learned how to allow you on the stage with us. And yeah, we're going to continue diving into this topic. And what I want to do, Jenny, you shared with us a post, right? And we're going to use it as a springboard. And the premise of this conversation is if my LinkedIn post could talk, because typically we read it, as your audience, and you put it on black and white. We go in, we make an interpretation of your post, which is based on our frame of reference as a reader. But the idea is that through that post, we can get to know you better and we can know exactly what led you to the point of hitting send when you created this particular piece of content. But let me ask you, when you wrote this and posted it, did you have anybody read it back to you? Did you actually hear a voiceover from someone before you posted it?
When I wrote it in the morning. And then when I write it, after I write it, I'll actually usually like walk around and read it out loud to myself to see how it sounds. And then as I was writing it, I just had like other people's voices in my head, right? So when you ask about what motivated me or triggered me for this post, I literally got up that morning that I was experiencing like a lot of negativity in the environment, a lot of people, especially all the posts coming out on the layoffs, people not being nice to each other, sitting in sessions. And there's just negative, so much heaviness. And so I had those people kind of in my head, and then I wanted to flip the script and just go like, well, why? Why do we wake up and choose to be negative? Why do we wake up and choose to tear people down? And so when you ask about the voice, it's kind of like the voice in my head to shift and reframe it to say, how about we amplify good? How about we reframe it and say, rather than talking negative about someone, we could talk positive. Rather than tear someone down, we could uplift. And rather than think negative, we could think positive. So it was a choice I was making to just share with people that we actually every day have a choice to go one way or the other. And it's very easy. I'm guilty of it myself to go negative. You have to like have a conscious mind to set it and go forward and positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to play the role of your voiceover as a reader. And then so that we can go through your post and take it in, because I think it's a really amazing call out for all of us. But sometimes you read it in like a 1 second and you click, you like it, and then you move on. And I want to give it the proper space for us to really consume your message. So I'm going to read it in my accent. So it may not come as the voice in your head did, but I'll do my best. I'll read it the way I read it for myself and the way I actually reflected on it. Okay. So here we go. From Jenny Kleintop. This is the post that she shared with us for this episode. You are surrounded by a lot of heaviness right now, and every day is full of choices to make. I choose to amplify good. How about you? The choice? Take care over not care. To care over not care. To help over not help. To listen over ignore. To uplift over tear down. To be generous over be selfish. To be kind over be mean. To spread positivity over negativity. And when the heaviness gets to be a little too much, I lean into connection, community, and people who get it and help uplift me when I need it. We understand we've got you is sometimes all one needs to hear. I choose to amplify good. How about you?
Wow. That's neat. Well, how did that impact you when you first heard it?
It was a call to action for me, because it is really, really easy to fall in an echo chamber, especially in this type of social media settings. And there have been, as you said, so many big, impactful things happening in the world, especially in the professional world. The layoffs have been a big, piece for me to pay attention to. But beyond that, it has been the realization that we are a part of a much bigger phenomenon from a transition standpoint. There are so many waves of change that are taking place right now that are causing the layoffs and that are causing the anxiety. We're transitioning into brand new technologies. We're transitioning to different ways of engaging with each other. I sometimes feel like even the leadership conversation is not as big as it needs to be, and the role of leadership in moments like this one. And it can be easy to fall trap of all the things that are not working and all the uncertainty. And your message to me was a call to action to reframe as much as we can the experience that we're having. And it was a point of reflection for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's part of what I want to get across.
I was going to ask you, is that what did you want to provoke when you first wrote it and you said, this is what I want to communicate today?
I've been around all my life, especially growing up, so much negativity. I've always been the person to kind of try to step out of it, think positive, uplift. People who know me find me goofy and I like to laugh and just even at myself and be silly. And so with this, I was trying to reframe exactly what you just went, your thought process. Like there's so much heaviness and negativity. If we could shift it and reframe it, I wanted to uplift people. I wanted to provoke an emotion of connection, a desire to do good, a willingness to be just kind. You see be kind a lot over LinkedIn. Be kind to people. Think they're genuinely good. And I just wanted to kind of evoke that emotion. But I also wanted to be real. And that's why you saw that last kind of section, to say it is okay if you have a lot of heaviness on you, if you have a lot going on where you just can't be that person in the moment. I wanted to say lean on people who will uplift you. I have an amazing community. Some of the ladies are on this call today. We talk weekly and we uplift each other and we surround each other and we just look at each other. Yeah, it was that day. And so it's okay to just find your community to help uplift you. Those are the kind of the two things that are going on in my head.
I love it. I'm gonna take a minute to welcome Rakesh and Ariel and Amy and Carol and Victoria. Hi, Victoria. I want to make sure you keep knowing that, whenever you want to lift raise your hand, we'll bring you on the stage. I would love to get your thoughts too and your reactions to that super important message. I think, when you talk about amplifying, that's a really amazing concept to adopt nowadays, because amplifying a message or a value or a take on a situation could go in the wrong direction. And I think being choiceful about what we really want to amplify, what conversations we want to be a part of, what message, what spirit do we want to be a part of? What is the wavelength we want to ride? Mm-hmm. Is a very important choice for us in this moment in time. Are we choosing humanity or are we choosing greed? Are we choosing generosity or are we choosing selfishness? Are we choosing abundance or are we choosing scarcity? And I feel like you are a huge messenger of that. And even in that one post, the message is clear, but in the conversations I've had with you, you always show up with that same idea, in every conversation I've been a part of with you.
Yeah, and you just nailed it. Show up. We just have to show up for each other, show up for the good. I love how you reframe that. I think Mohan wants to talk.
Yeah. Hi, Mohan.
Welcome.
Hey, when does Mohan not want to talk? I'll be honest, Jenny, I didn't read the post before I come on here, and I was listening to Lindsay speak, and I like being surprised. So I was really surprised. Mm-hmm. It was just the word that comes to mind, authentic, and it came from a place that felt like it was coming from inside you. And to me, I think that's such a key message above everything else. It's like right from what's inside you, and it will resonate with people. So, I don't know how anybody could read that and just skim past it, but I'm sure it happens in this world of social media. But to me, it was extremely powerful. Just hats off to that, and I absolutely applaud the mission. The other thing that really stood out, and I think Lindsay said this, which is really important, and like hopefully people didn't miss it, is there's not enough importance given to the topic of leadership. And I couldn't agree more. Leadership is becoming a commodity, the way it's being written about and being spoken about. And actually far few people are really being leaders and actually standing up for what they need to do. And I think that's something to reflect on. That's my personal POV, of course, but I think that's been also what I've experienced. A lot of people talk about it, but when it comes down to actually doing it, you see very few people that can amplify that and actually be that. So that's what I want to say. I'll stop there.
Oh, 100%. Thanks for sharing. Absolutely agree with all of that.
That's awesome. Well, let's keep digging into both of your points of view, because there's what you were able to include in your message, and then after the fact, you probably thought of, oh, I could have said this too. So what else did you want to say that didn't make it into the post?
Yeah, it's a great question, because sometimes we can get, I can get long-winded, and I also can get short and direct. So folks who know me, like, I like to get to the point, but sometimes I write a lot. So it's finding the middle ground. So in this post, when I was first starting to write it, I started to add more examples. So examples of what like internal drama in a workplace is like, a story of someone going through it. How can we like flip this and do the opposite? And it got like, so when I went back to read, I'm like, ooh, this is like really long. I don't even think I would want to read this much in a post. So I took that out, and then I just put it into my newsletter like the week later. And so there's just stuff I wanted to show more, like examples of how you can flip a negative situation, or examples of like people, like things going good, people supporting each other, community coming through. There's like so much stuff, but it was just too much for a post.
I think that's very interesting that, from a single post, you also were able to identify ways to amplify the message itself. Like you could have taken it into other media and expand more, to make it relatable for people who may want to take some lessons learned from where you were coming from, and make it more anecdotal. And that in itself speaks not only of the intention of amplifying the good, but also trying to amplify it from a content perspective so that it could be also a learning opportunity for others.
Yeah, 100%. When you can take it to different mediums and just match the message, as Mohan said, it's more authentic. When it comes in different versions and you repeat it, you can't make that stuff up. It's really authentically what I believe and what I'm pushing out. And so it's just nice to have multiple platforms to be able to do that.
That's awesome. I see Amy Clark on the audience. Amy, that reminds me of a conversation we had with you where you shared something similar in one of I think it was Jen's call, right, Jen? Where you were sharing your experience there to taking your content and trying to think about where else it could be replicated. I love the idea of the amplification of the message, Jenny, and I think it's something that I personally am taking away from learning from you, because it doesn't have to die there. I feel like the attention span of LinkedIn is so fractional that it's almost a mini campaign of the actual takeaway that we could do.
100%. And that's why I ended it with Amplify Good. That was the day I actually changed my headline. If anyone sees my headline, it says Amplifier of Good. And I just wanted people to know, like, that's a choice I'm making. That's a message I'm going to keep pushing out, because there's too much negativity in the world. Like I just want a megaphone and everybody to jump up on board and just amplify goodness. And we're seeing that more and more, especially on LinkedIn, which is just, it's awesome, awesome to read.
Jenny, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So in the sense of amplifier of good and making the message persist, are there certain things that you're doing to do that? What changed when you changed your, other than your byline, what other things did you start doing? I'm very curious to hear that, because I think we can all learn from that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I make it kind of my North Star. So I do a We Wave Wednesday post, and usually every other week, to highlight other people doing good in industry. In the comments in LinkedIn, I'll go in and like amplify other people, saying something cool, saying something good, being positive to other people, like really supporting other people doing it. It's just the ways I try to find, if we can shine a light on that and more of that, then more people would want to do that.
I mean, you're disrupting and creating change.
It's a movement. We're starting a movement, everybody.
It's a movement. Let me welcome Carol and Karen. And Oxy, I don't know if I said your name correctly, Oxy. I hope I did. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing, but I'm so excited that you're here. And again, at any point in time, just raise your hand. You can come up the stage with us, and we can have you join the conversation. And there's Paul Ditch, who is someone that I have been learning a lot from. He's my friend from the Outlier Project, along with Karen and Victoria. And I'm so glad you're here, Paul. As I learned from you, at any point in time, raise your hand and come up stage with us if you want to.
Love having you all here. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's move on. What was the most memorable comment or reaction that you got, Jenny, when you posted that message?
There were two. One was from Kate, who talked about being thankful to hear this message and how her heart was heavy. And I remember reading that, especially when she said her heart was heavy, and thinking, wow, like I'm getting emotional, but wow, the fact that she took time to write that and let me know is awesome. And the fact that I could help just one person through pushing content out, like, means all the world to me, which it was really heartfelt, meaningful to me. And then the other one was from my friend Eden, who talked about community and connection. And so anyone who knows me, I talk all about community and connection and collaboration. And so it resonated with me. And then she dropped in the word, or the acronym, FTW. And I have to admit, I'd have to go Google what FTW means. It's for the win. But just the fact that I'm always learning too with the community, and we're collaborating, connecting, it's just instant, like, it lights my heart up, and it's just awesomeness to me. And those are the two things that resonated with me.
So I'm gonna ask you this. You're making me think about, and I'm gonna improvise another question. Why? So as a business owner, as a leader in your field, as someone who goes into organizations and acts, as a connector, like you call yourself, to align the different layers of an organization around a mission. Why is goodness, community, and connection important from a leadership perspective?
It's important because if you have connection, community, collaboration, like if you have that internal to your organization, and people are collaborating together, connecting, working in unison, you go further, faster. It's like a healthy culture that actually propels your work and your results forward. I've seen that, and then I've seen the opposite, where there's so much internal negativeness, battles, I remember walking into like one initial office. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of culture that needs to be worked on. And it's almost like they're moving in opposite directions. And when that happens, move forward momentum doesn't happen, or it happens a lot slower than it could. And to me, it's important when you're in organizations as a leader to not necessarily amplify good in a fake way, right? But find ways to, if it's not good, to address it and not ignore it. I've seen a lot of like, oh, that's just that personality. Well, that's going to affect the whole entire team if we don't address it. And to me, it's especially in this virtual world that we're working in and hybrid, it's like even more super important to try to keep that connection and collaboration in a healthy, positive light.
Are those values that you bring with you into the projects and the engagements that you have with your clients? Is it something you put front and center in your conversations with them?
100%. Mm-hmm. Like especially when I'm talking to leaders one-on-one, if I see that there is a culture at risk, if I see there's not collaboration, I will be honest with that leader and I'll say XYZ is happening. Let's come up with a plan to course correct this. It might take some time, but we have to do ABC, because honestly, everybody these days is strained, is asked to do more with less, is not recognized enough. And we have to, as leaders, shift that. And it could be the smallest things from, I'm so grateful for you, you're doing an awesome job, to the bigger things of raises and promotions and whatever it may be. But there's so much that a leader can help instill in organizations that I don't shy away from communicating. I've learned over the years how to have those conversations with leaders and CDOs. I've learned over the years how to talk with non-leaders. So across the board, someone has to address it. So I would if I'm there.
That's very special. Last week when we launched the If My LinkedIn Post Could Talk audio series, Mohan, we spoke with you about your journey to launch your business. Have you encountered situations already where you have to have similar conversations with your clients, with the organizations you're engaging with at this point?
About what, Lindsay?
About the importance of creating connection and community. Watching the cultural signs, that are not conducive to implement, change and the programs that you all offer.
Yeah. The reality is this business is so new that those types of conversations are happening just yet because I'm not being exposed to the culture. Mm-hmm. But sometimes when you go into the workflow, you see that. But what I can speak from my experience being in a leadership position for as long as I am, these concerns are very real, and tackling the nature of the human side of things. I think it starts with, every day, every conversation that you're having and how you choose to interact and communicate and respect the individuals, both on your team, but on your team, people also are clients, is super, super important. And so, yes, I have experienced that, and it resonates very much with me.
Yeah. I think it's very courageous, Jenny, that that you're getting ahead of it and that you're calling it out and that you're building it into your capability. That's one of the things that I've experienced as well is sometimes it's the hard conversations that really open the door for much profound transformation than we think is possible. And it only takes one person with a conscience to come in and start sort of questioning, right, the current reality, especially if you have a frame of reference to assess where it's not very conducive, and that you have the courage and the leadership to step in and say, we really need to talk about this. So that's super, super special that you do that.
Lindsay, if I can, I'll say one thing, because you sparked this, you sparked the memory. And it was funny because, like, especially when you're talking to people about these types of things, you talk about having difficult conversations. Something that changed it in my mind and really helped me kind of see it differently was when somebody said, lean into it. You know, like, embrace the difficult conversations and lean into it. And when you think of what that visualization does and what it made for me as an impact, is it almost like invited me to go ahead and have those conversations, to go ahead and do that. And almost like a muscle that you're like learning and practicing, because it isn't natural, especially if you haven't done it before. And that was such a mental shift, those words, lean into it, that it changed how I started to tackle those types of conversations.
Yeah.
It's great.
Mm-hmm. Jenny, if you were to write a follow, so you posted this like a month ago, and so you've had time to move on in a way, right? And you posted so many other amazing things after that. And I definitely would suggest to everybody in the audience, if you're not following Jenny and or Mohan, make sure you do, because they really have been spearheading a lot of great, authentic, heartfelt content. But if you now fast forward into today, what would a follow-up post say on the same topic?
I would follow up with, how are you doing with amplifying good? I would say, hey, what are some examples of something good that you did when you chose to care or not care, or help over not help? I would highlight, so I think some of you have seen me highlight other people in my post who are doing good. And so it's trying to find ways to highlight people, highlight community, highlight collaboration, and just uplift. And I see that spreading around more and more on LinkedIn. And so it's just a mind shift that I think a lot of us are making in how we approach the day and how we approach others, to just do good, just be kind. It's honestly not that hard.
Awesome. I think that you should write a post like that. I want to see it. I'm thinking, following up with my previous post.
So much just comes out. But look at all these people on the phone. Look at those people who listen after. It's just people showing up for other people. Wow, it's just in itself amazing to me.
I mean,
thank you.
That's the whole point with LinkedIn, that I feel sometimes can be intimidating, but it's really how do we find each other, and how do we create this sort of magnetic field in a way where those were topics that attract us to be better people and better leaders and better communicators, could create that sort of ripple effect on each other. That's the part that I'm most in love with. And I think, people like you who are really using it for that purpose and really thinking through what is the impact I want to make with my message are making a huge difference, really, for the newbies like me coming into the platform. So I see Eileen. Eileen, I don't think I say hi to you yet. This is something I learned from Paul on the audience. When he runs his audio events, he's very welcoming, and he calls his the audience side of these, what is it, Paul? The Garden of Excellence, which is beautiful.
That's awesome.
So if you haven't attended Paul's audio chats and LinkedIn live sessions that he does, Impossible Equals Impossible, I truly recommend you do as well, because he has amazing content too. Okay, so we're winding down to the end of this episode. And Jenny, I have one last question for you. What are the top 3 things you would like for the people in the audience to remember you for, or to not leave today without knowing about you?
Well, one is I think you've all have figured out that I'm the amplifier of good and spreading it around. And you all have a choice each day for positivity over negativity. And I genuinely think people are good. They have good intent. And so I just try to shine a light on that. 2, I've been very fortunate to have been put in positions and roles where I truly believe I'm meant to be. And I love, love, love what I do. Because some people hear the word data and database and operations and they want to like run the opposite direction. But to me, that's exciting, probably because I've been married to a frontline fundraiser for 20 years. So I can take complication, I can take tech, and I can explain it to non-tech savvy people and bridge that gap that's often there between the frontline and data and leadership. So I just absolutely love doing what I do. And then 3rd, I don't know if people know this about me, but a little nugget is I'm naturally an introvert. And so it's taken me months to like put myself out there on LinkedIn. When I started to go back, if you go back to my videos and stuff from like 2 years ago, oh my gosh, I was like really robotic, but I was dipping my toes in. I was starting to get more comfortable. And I just want to message that even if you're an introvert, it doesn't mean you can't jump into connection and community. Like I'm living proof that in this virtual world, it's actually more comfortable than having to put yourself out in a conference and network. And so I would just say, like, just go for it. We're here to support you. We will uplift you. We will talk positive. Just go for it because it's awesome, awesome journey. And I'm so grateful for all of you who surround me, and I'm so grateful for being here.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, well, Jenny, this was amazing. I could talk with you for hours, but we committed 45 minutes, so I don't want to abuse the time that we set up for this. And I'll definitely, would love to keep the conversation with you, with Mohan, with everybody in the audience. Make sure you go out and cross-pollinate with each other. The idea is that we keep growing our relationships and our communities together. And I hope that, this is something that you took a couple of ideas away that you can implement on your own. And just know that we're here. We're a behind the scenes community looking to support you in your journey too. So
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Mohan, for being the courageous stage partner today.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.